Hello everyone! Here I am with another Rogue Robot review, and this time on a character you'd probably recognize without even watching the movie, one we see more of in the film than the average Rogue Robot. I'm referring to none other than VAQ-M.
Stand back! It sucks more than anything!
This is my first time dealing with one of the main robots, so let's just get started already. VAQ-M is one of many robots in WALL-E. Designated to the maintenance class, his job is to clean up any spills or messes, but with our rejected friend here, let's just say he struggles with that task. VAQ-M has one of the most well thought out designs of the whole crew, understandable for such a prominent robot as him. Because of their similar structure, he and Van Gogh have always fit together well in my opinion. As the name suggests, VAQ-M is heavily inspired by real-life vacuum cleaners. His main body is a white metal cube with rounded edges and a gray indentation at the front and top for his neck attachment. This front indentation also gives him the ability to fold his head inwards for easier storage. He's got a pair of blue stripes wrapping around his lower body, a gray underbelly, text of his name on his left side, a large gray dust collecting chamber with the B&L logo on his back, and an electrical cord and outlet on his lower rear. He gets around on 3 wheels, 2 small in the front, 1 large in the back, making him one of the only robots to not hover. Connected to this little crevice here is his black, rubbery, flexible, accordion-shaped neck, which helps transport the inflow of soot to the back compartment. He has an expressionless face with a large intake port similar to a mouth, equipped with a pair of twin head-mounted scrubbing rollers. His head has a lower gray area, 2 blue stripes, and a large vent in place of where the eyes would be, complete with a tiny little light on top. Oh, and his red boot connects from the left side of his body to his head. Fun fact, another variant of VAQ-M is seen with gray stripes rather than blue. Speaking of which, before we cover our boy's scenes, I want to mention the unit that was seen in the loading dock. This was our first time seeing the model, and it's the only other time we see a vacuum bot besides the Rogue variant. It's here we get to see how the sucker actually operates, removing the additional dirt from the Eve probes. Okay, now we get to our main man, who we first see on the right side of the room in the opening shot, resting his head on his cage's front wall. We finally get our close look at him when Wally gets transported to his pen right next door. Here we can still see him resting his head, but once he starts getting congested, he pulls his neck back and with enough build-up, he sneezes all over Wally's face, then giving his neighbor a look of, "Mind if I take care of that for you?" This is followed by him looking around and starting to suck at the back of Wally's head, which Wally seems unfazed by. This ends when Wally gets startled, causing VAQ-M to scoot back and then decide to start cleaning up the floor of his space. Afterwards, he looks up at Wally once he rolls out of place. He can later be seen from behind, staring at the energy walls as they deactivate. Once he realizes that he's free, he leaps from his spot and bounces around like a rodeo bull. He can later be seen racing out the repair ward entrance on the right side of the screen, jostling back and forth. In the service hallways, he turns around the corner, still on the right side of the group. And if you look closely, you can see him collide with another robot just before he leaves the screen. He's subsequently halted and then idles near the wall, staring at the imposing Stewart bots, now surrounded by Cardis, the purple one-eyed robot, 83142, and the yellow Sada lookalike. He remains in this position for the next few shots, including the mugshot, until he leans up against the group in an attempt to avoid the incoming lasers. Once our protagonists rocket away, he's one of the first to charge past the guards, only to crash into the wall, sending him back into the group before swerving to his left. For most robots, their story would end around this point, but here, we keep on going. VAQ-M is seen in the mini-group running from the Stewarts. Here he scrapes his head against the smooth floor, and he stops so abruptly that the momentum lifts his rear up into the air. He looks back at the security bots and continues his escape. Much later, when Wally starts playing the music, VAQ-M is seen on his own cleaning up the hallway floor, only to sneeze so hard that he thrusts his entire body back into the door of a garbage chute. He hears the music and notices the group speeding by, resulting in him following behind. He's seen alongside the group zooming down the halls, all while bobbing his head up and down to the song. Afterwards, he swiftly stops at the intersection, only to be surprised by the incoming army of Stewarts. Once he realizes that Moe's also trying to fight off the obstacle, he decides to help by blasting debris right at the Stewarts. His reflection can be seen under Brella right here, and he's also seen briefly in the shot of hands smashing. After the battle, VAQ-M sits on the pile of broken robot parts, looking up at hands just being hands, and then continuing to the Lido deck. During the tilt sequence, VAQ-M goes sliding down the balcony to the starboard side while getting pushed by his friends. Once the ship is steady again, he can be seen cleaning up the back of one of the passengers, and then aids in getting the plant to Eve by sucking it from Moe and sending it forward.
Hey Terry, you want some? This bitch empty!
Afterwards, he starts to mourn the loss of one of his friends, along with Purdy, Van Gogh, and the others. He then follows the group out of the ship and down the stairs, wanting to make sure all will be fine, and he suddenly stops in reaction to the explosion from Wally's truck, and shares a concerned glance with Moe. After bumping into Van Gogh, he discovers that Wally is alive, only to then be awkwardly squeezed between Brella and Van Gogh. And finally, we get our last shot of him, now cleaning up the sand in front of Wally's truck. Man, our buddy's sure got his work cut out for him, doesn't he? Now that concludes his appearances, but in true Rogue Robot fashion, we're not finished yet. VAQ-M's not only special for having wheels, but also for being one of few robots with a confirmed voice. Well, that is if you count these warbling noises as a voice. Being one of the main robots, VAQ-M's been featured in a plethora of toy lines, books, and other tie-in material. In the official video game for PC, he can be seen shooting out junk that can be turned into cubes by Wally. He also appears in the PlayStation game. He's seen in the comics and the Rogue Robot picture book. He was included in a literal handful of action figure series, along with puzzles and more. Bonus features were also very kind to him. He cameos in both the Captaining the Axiom video and the BNL Fleet of Bots video. Most importantly, he's an option in the Meet the Bots guide. It's here that we learn that the model was bestowed with the Space Housekeeping Seal of Approval, and that the unit isn't made to do windows. In the deleted scene Dumped, Eve peeks out into the hallway, where she sees VAQ-M inchworming his way along the ground, twice as a matter of fact. Like the rest, he's present in that behind-the-scenes previs shot. Here he's given a white temp color, and all we see more of is just him scooting around the hallway. And for fun, here's some concept art from the early development phase. Those of you with a keen eye will notice that in said concept art, VAQ-M was originally going to have the number 10 and to be named Vroom. Quite interesting. It's also clear that VAQ-M's a popular one with fans, as seen with fan art, or these paper replicas I've shown throughout the video. And I have a theory that VAQ-M was one of by and large's earliest models, mostly because he has traits common in today's tech, like the electrical cord or the wheels. Still wondering if this could be true or not. VAQ-M, for a Rogue Robot, is just plain iconic. If you were to say Rogue Robots from Wall-E to some random Joe off the street, VAQ-M would be one of the first to come to their mind, and rightfully so. From his memorable design to his special malfunction, he greatly represents why I love these guys. I'm so happy to have talked about him, and I hope you learned a thing or two. Is this guy one of your favorite robots? Feel free to tell me, I'm pretty curious. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.